Have you ever opened your to-do list and felt your heart sink? Everything is there, clear, important, but you don't touch any of it. A project that will take dozens of hours, a plan that isn't even finished, task after task lined up like a mountain with no top. And instead of starting, you check your email, you scroll your phone, you tidy your desk, you do small things, safe things, things that don't really matter. Not because you're lazy, not because you're not capable. It's because your brain feels overloaded. When a task looks too big, your brain can't see the first step. It only sees the whole thing, all of it at once. Heavy, massive. And its natural reaction is to avoid it, not to sabotage you, but to protect you from that wave of pressure. So you delay it. Today passes, then tomorrow, then a week. The most dangerous part isn't the work left undone. It's the weight that builds up each day when you know you're standing still. Procrastination doesn't start with laziness. It starts with overwhelm. Imagine a 32-year-old man. He has a great business idea. He has the knowledge, some savings, plenty of time. But for 3 months, he does nothing. Every morning, he opens his laptop. In front of him is a to-do list worth 75 hours of work. Write the business plan, build the website, design the brand, create the marketing strategy. All of it together feels like a mountain. He looks at it and thinks, I have to do this perfectly. He opens a blank document, types the title, then just stares at the screen. 20 minutes pass. He closes the laptop. I'll do it tomorrow, when I have more energy. But tomorrow comes, and it slips by the same way. The problem isn't that he lacks ability. He's just waiting to feel ready. 3 months go by with perfect intentions. 3 months with no real progress. This story isn't just his. A lot of us are standing in that exact spot. Smart enough to know what we should do, but never actually starting. When he told his uncle just smiled. Not a mocking smile. More like, he's seen this before. You're frozen by the mountain, he said. Picture yourself standing at the base of a tall mountain. You look up. The top is so far you can barely see it. The slope feels impossible. What happens? You don't move? Not because you're too weak to climb, but because you're trying to imagine the whole journey at once. Marcus was doing the same thing. He wasn't looking at the first step. He was looking at all 75 hours at the same time. His brain wasn't breaking it into pieces. It was reading the whole thing as one massive load. And when that overload hits, your protection system kicks in. Wait. Not ready. Tomorrow. That's not laziness. It's a natural response to pressure. We often think we lack discipline, but really, we're trying to climb the entire mountain in our head before we even take one step. And when you try to do everything at once, your body chooses one thing: to stand still. Then his uncle said something simple. Don't climb the whole mountain, just walk for 10 minutes. Marcus frowned. What can 10 minutes even do? That was the point. The 10-minute rule sounds too small to matter. Not an hour, not until it's done. Just 10 minutes. When a task becomes small enough to feel not scary, the brain stops pushing back. 10 minutes doesn't demand perfection. It doesn't need huge motivation. It doesn't ask you to solve everything. It only asks you to begin. And starting is the hardest part. When you tell yourself, I'll just do 10 minutes, the pressure drops. You're not finishing the whole project. You're not thinking about the dozens of hours ahead. It's just a short block of time. Clear, limited. 10 minutes is small enough that you can't really argue with it. But it's big enough to create movement. Because here's the truth. You're not afraid of the work. You're afraid of the weight of it. And when you shrink that weight down, you give yourself permission to take the first step. The first reason this rule works is something most people don't notice. The friction of starting. Ask yourself one simple question. What's the hardest part of any task? It's not doing it. It's starting. Before you take action, everything lives in your head. Thoughts, worries, images of what could go wrong. Your brain sees starting as a big energy shift. It has to move from rest to focus. It has to decide. It has to face uncertainty. That's why you feel heavy right before you begin. But here's the interesting part. Once you've started, the energy needed to keep going drops a lot. It's like pushing a car that isn't moving. The first push is the hardest. But once the wheels roll, you only need steady pressure. The 10-minute rule doesn't finish your project. It helps you get past that first friction. And once you cross that line, the work doesn't feel as scary. You realize you're already in motion. You've shifted from thinking about doing it to actually doing it. That shift is what changes everything. And once you get past that first friction, something else shows up. Momentum. When you're sitting still, getting up feels hard. But once you've taken a few steps, your body wants to keep moving. Work is the same. The moment you write the first line, the second line comes easier. When you finish one small section, the next one doesn't feel as scary. That's momentum. You don't need a huge burst of motivation. You just need to shift from still to moving. And here's the interesting part. Almost no one actually stops at minute 10. Because when the timer goes off, you're already in the flow. The document is open. Your mind is engaged. You're connected to the work. Sometimes it's harder to stop than to keep going. And this momentum is what creates real progress. Not a big wave of inspiration. Not a 12-hour grind. It's not just a small start that turns into a few more minutes, and then a few more. You don't force yourself to finish the whole mountain. You take one step, and that step makes the next one feel natural. Once you're moving, you're no longer stuck. And even if you really stop at minute 10, something important has still happened. You moved forward. Just 10 minutes. But it's no longer zero. The biggest problem with procrastination isn't unfinished work. It's the feeling of no progress. When days pass and you do nothing, you start to doubt yourself. You feel guilty, then disappointed, then you avoid it even more. But when you take even one small step each day, everything shifts. 3 lines of notes, a short paragraph, a rough sketch. They're not perfect, but they exist, and that existence sends a strong signal to your brain. You're moving. Progress, even small progress, creates natural motivation for the next day. You want to come back. You want to refine it a little more. You want to see it grow. 10 minutes a day sounds tiny, but after a week, that's over an hour. After a month, that's hours of real focus. Not because of superhuman willpower, just because you kept showing up. Small progress, repeated consistently. Beats standing still. So how do you use this in real life? Not just think about it. Not wait for motivation. Actually do it. Step 1. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Press it on your phone. When time has a clear limit, your promise feels real. Step 2. Tell yourself one simple sentence. I'm only doing this for 10 minutes. No more, no less. After that, you're allowed to stop without guilt. Step 3. Pick one very specific task. Not work on the business plan, but write 3 bullet points about my target customer. The smaller, the better. Step 4. Start right away. Don't clean your desk again. Don't watch one more video. Don't wait for a better mood. Just begin. Step 5. When the timer rings, you can stop or keep going if you have momentum. Either way, you win because you took action. This rule doesn't ask you to become perfectly disciplined. It only asks you to be honest for the first 10 minutes. And those 10 minutes open the door to all the minutes that follow. And that's exactly what happened to Marcus. The next morning, he sat at the same desk. The list was still long. Nothing magical had changed. But this time, he didn't look at all 75 hours. He set a 10-minute timer. At the top of the page, he wrote, 3 bullet points about my target customer. The first 3 minutes felt slow. He was restless. It felt a bit silly. But he didn't stop. At minute 5, he wrote 1 idea. At minute 8, he had 3. When the timer rang, he looked down at the page. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And one thought came up. Maybe I'll write a little more. He reset the timer. Another 10 minutes. On the first day, he worked for 47 minutes total. It all started with one small promise. On day 2, he worked on the website for 35 minutes. On day 3, he sketched the logo for over 20 minutes. On day 4, he outlined the marketing plan for almost an hour. 2 weeks passed. He wasn't frozen anymore. He wasn't staring at the mountain. Just small steps. Repeated each day. 3 months before, Marcus was stuck. 3 months after, he launched his business. Same amount of time, same person, same idea. Only one thing changed. He stopped waiting to feel ready. He stopped staring at the whole mountain. He just started with 10 minutes. And that's something you can do right now. There's one task you've been avoiding. One project you've been thinking about for weeks. One goal you know you should begin. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect day. Don't wait until you feel more confident. Pick one small part, very small, specific, clear. Set a 10-minute timer and start. When this video ends, don't scroll to the next one right away. Give 10 minutes to the thing you've been putting off. If you commit to doing that today, leave a comment below. 10 minutes for Unestrat Wow. Fill in what you're going to work on. I want to see you begin. If this helped you see procrastination differently, hit like so I know you're serious about changing. Share this with a friend who's been about to start for months. And subscribe if you want simple, practical systems each week. No hype, just action. 10 minutes. That's it.